Well, let's continue. Labor movement can be considered as three different types. Basically, consists of three different types. One of them is aiming to go back to either pre-capitalist era. In at the time of Marx, for example, there were many people who were basically damaging the machines because they thought the machines were actually the reason that makes their labor conditions worse, so they rather want to go to a production era without machines, for example. And to some extent, the earlier era with, well, for example, going back to 1950s, industrial production organization or is one of the, well, some workers are aiming that, and some even unions are aiming that. So going back might be one of the aims. Going back to previous eras of capitalism, or even further back, time before capitalism, might be one of the aims labor movements might have. Well, one part of labor movement also aims to end the capitalist system and create a new system, socialism, with where means of production are owned by the workers themselves. But a significant portion of the labor movement is actually was started to aim at least in time improvements within the capitalist system, so create a better capitalist system. And for example, 8-hour work, 8-hour movement is one of those movements that we're aiming to make capitalist system a better system, which would restrict the working time to 8 hours, which was a powerful movement, and it ended up by being successful. Although to what extent success was there was sometimes discussed by mainstream economists, but certainly, that decrease in the number of hours worked is coordinated with the efforts of this movement, correlated with the efforts of this movement. And basically, the main labor movement in the United States, AFL, was stated explicitly: we don't want to change capitalist system. We rather want a better capitalist system. And they were not soft unions. Actually, they actually were struggled very hard to get certain rights, work safety rights, working time rights, with rights related to the working time, get better wages, for example, or restrict child labor, for example. Anyway, let's move. So this was a time when Marxist movement has also split. That was more or less after death of Marx, while Engels was has been alive. The discussions were there, but after Engels' death, the discussions were more severe. Actually, one of Engels' best friends, Bernstein, has argued that capitalist system has this ability to improve and provide better working conditions for the workers, especially larger companies, restrict the competition and able to give higher share to the workers, and in the end actually they also need to be regulated by the state because their failure becomes too risky for the state. As a result, actually capitalist system is evolving into a better system by itself, giving higher share for the workers, and the production is more controlled, more in social sense. And so basically, workers should, in that case, not aim to change the system completely into a new system. Instead, worker movement should look to the workers' movement should look to the incremental changes within the system. And at that time, this movement, the social democracy, was also this movement, this side of the split, was also claiming. Later, this claim has also disappeared from the social democrat movements to some extent, at least. But at the time, they were also claiming that these incremental improvements might also end up maybe in the socialism in the end. Today, I mean, social democratic parties, maybe if you tell them this, they will say maybe, but we should not care about where it will, these incremental improvements will lead. And then, of course, today's social democratic movements also get another actually a kind of economic perspective from another source also, not only from Marx actually. That source become also very important. And then there was another split which was created by the Lenin and the communist movement. Actually, there were other leaders at the time which were starting to create this split. But Lenin has become, in the end, the defining leader of the split. And they basically claim that Rosa Luxemburg was another example, for example, of this split. They claim actually the capitalist system has reorganized itself, and actually different parts of the world, the workers in different parts of the world, started to be exploited more deeper and in more strict sense. So basically, the conditions of the workers in European countries may become better because of this extra exploitation, this super exploitation, you might say, of the people in the peripheral area, according to Lenin. And in the end, basically, the large corporations and the financial corporations at the top of them don't necessarily actually provide better conditions for the workers to get a higher share. They might give workers higher share because worker movements are more strong, but they also have better control of the state, and they can actually now, they are not small capitalists which are actually competing with each other and basically obeying certain fundamental rules of the economics, but rather they want also change the rules of the economic system, make the rules of the economic system at least in their own sectors, and do that by controlling the state also. And basically at the global scale, the states themselves become fighting with in order to get more dominance of these peripheral regions and control of those peripheral regions. So actually, the major characteristic of the capitalism to exploit workers has increased, and in the end, actually, workers also have become part of this struggle to control more peripheral areas, more resources, and more labor power in the peripheral areas. So fundamental capitalist characteristics are there, and it is actually driving workforces of the world into a major catastrophe, and exploiting especially peripheral people in the peripheral areas in a very, very extended and more extended sense, and actually even more harshly. So in the end, it is, he said, the system can only be overthrown by an organized workers' movement, which was also actually organized in a way to plan to take over the political power. So you should not only organize just to look for your rights, but also basically look for ways to take the political power. And that's why, according to Lenin, the party and basically political organization is very important. And basically this exploitation of this more intense exploitation of periphery in the end might also come. The basic problems of capitalism will still continue, and in the end, when the limits of the intense exploitation of the periphery will reach, the workers in the developed countries might also face with more intense exploitation increasingly, or at least with more intense economic problems. So according to Lenin, the switch to the socialist system was still necessary, and it can be done by a political organization which actually wants to take, which aims to take the political power in the name of the workers. So those are two different splits in 20th century, beginning of the 20th century. Of course, if you were a Marxist in the 21st century now, you can look for other options, other ways. I mean, these two options should not be the only two options you should consider. But those two splits have become pretty much the dominant splits, which actually dominate them. Marxist movements and the opposition to the capitalist system throughout the 20th century, and social democrats have become kind of they kind of are not completely okay with the system, but they want improvements within the system. So opposition within the system and complete opposing system from as an anti-systemic movement. So they have become these type of two movements in a way. And this was also time when economics has kind of created there's a new economic tradition was created. This new economic tradition is called marginalism or marginal revolution, and kind of today's microeconomics was largely created by at this era. And now actually the focus is not on classes or society in general, but on individual. And basically we take individual as agents which are similar to each other, who have different types of resources. I mean, each individual has some capital, which is usually taken as any amount of money you might have in your pocket, and labor power, and each person makes different preferences, different choices based on their resources and preferences, and that leads to their position in the economic system. So basically, this individual is taken more and more in an isolated manner, and more basically their interaction in the economic system is done through market, through their buying and selling process. I mean, at least that becomes focus of the economic system. So other social interaction are not anymore that much interesting for the economists. But in economic sense, the key interaction is the buying and selling process in the market, according to this new economic tradition. And it also describes this. The system where everyone makes individually their decision. They don't organize and make decisions in social, like collective sense. If they make those decisions alone, this will lead to most best possible results, as it is defined by this tradition, if certain conditions are met. So this new tradition also try to show the market, how market efficiencies can run efficiently most and produce best results under certain conditions. Also, and also studies to some extent what will happen if some of those conditions are not met. Also, so this is time also people were increasingly become individual, not completely individuals maybe, but the large families, the neighborhoods were separated, and people are starting to be single worker working in a factory, and maybe a family continues to become a unit, but the people become more and more individualized by the economic system is splitting them from their social bonds. On the other hand, maybe some other bonds with other workers and with the nation started to be formed. But this new tradition kind of thinks, in economic sense, those bonds were not that much important.